Welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Welcome back, everyone. Hope you had a great weekend, a great start to the holiday-based season. I really do wish you and your family all the best this holiday season. It's such a special time of the year. I try to spend just a little bit more time with family, really being present and enjoying those moments that we only get so much of, right? Once a year is the holiday season. I just try to soak it up. So I wish you and your family all the best. And now let's get into our weekend Cabral HouseCall, where we answer all of our community's questions each and every weekend. And I shouldn't say all of them. We will get to all of them. We answer 6 on Saturday and we answer 6 on Sunday. All things wellness, weight loss, anti-aging. Today's questions are actually from October 17th through the 21st. So if you ask your question after October 17th through the 21st, it will be coming on a future show. It is now November 27th. So we are about 5 weeks behind, 6 weeks behind. Honestly, people ask all the time, when will my question be answered on the show? We cannot give you that answer. We have no idea since I don't open this document until it's time to begin answering your questions. But approximately 5 to 7 weeks after you write in, your question will be answered. Some people get upset about that, and I apologize, but I'm only one man, and I'm answering all these questions each and every weekend. But I always say this: don't wait for this answer to begin, right? What I would like you to do is you can ask it at cabralsupportgroup.com, and that's free, and it's basically same-day answers to your questions. We pay the health coaches to be in that group and provide free answers there. And you can also do a free lab consultation, and that's at stephencabral.com/health-coaching. So there's a lot of options to get started and get some good advice. Well, here we are. So we're answering your questions. So the first one is from Ryan. Ryan says, I know you're not a big fan of artificial sweeteners, but from what I've been able to find in the research, there seems to be many meta-analyses and RCTs in humans showing that there is no negative effect on body weight, glycemic variability, or microbiome, or that there is actually beneficial effects on body weight. Studies show otherwise either seem to be in animals or providing extremely large dosages that would not be realistic for everyday life, or both. Is this a case of the science not being caught up to clinical practice in current times, or is there definitive research showing the negative effects of artificial sweeteners in humans in realistic doses? Would love to hear your valued opinion on this. Thanks for all you do. Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate you writing in. Always appreciate you bringing another viewpoint as well. I mean, that's the thing is, I believe in debate. I believe in, I don't know if discourse is the right word. Probably not the right word. But anyway, I love being able to go back and forth on these different things. So let me just share with you this. Body transformation is totally different than health, which is also different than longevity. Right? So here's the thing. There are things that I would do for body transformation that are actually not the healthiest to do. I would exercise someone a little bit more than they should be exercised. I would get in more walking maybe than their body can handle up front. I would be doing higher protein, probably lower starches in that person's diet to transform their body. I would be since I'm reducing those carbohydrates and starches, I might even use some of these artificial sweeteners, right, to increase palatability. But I wouldn't do that because I realize that I can get 98, 99% of the same results, but also keep that person healthy. And then we have to realize that the studies you just named aren't long-term. We're talking, at best, the studies that you're citing, 8 weeks, 12 weeks. There's not really any long-term studies there on that. And what we're looking at too are really definitive studies that when we look at sucralose. So here's the thing, Ryan. I want you to think of it this way. Okay. When humans make a man-made substance, it always, 100% of the time, causes some other type of reaction in the body. Now, think of every pharmaceutical drug that's ever been made. I'm not saying they're not needed. They keep a lot of people alive. I'm not saying that. Does it cure disease? No, absolutely not. It masks symptoms, but it doesn't cure disease, right? I'll work in different ways there. There are certainly antivirals and there are other things as well. But for the most part, we're talking about chronic-based illness, right? So what we're looking at is these things always lead to inflammation then moving into a different pathway. There is no pharmaceutical drug, there is no basically man-made substances that can outdo what nature gave us. So what you're asking me, in my opinion, is a bit of a moot point. And here's why. There's really never any reason to use something like sucralose. So I was 18 years old or so, 17 years old, 18 years old, a couple of years after sucralose came out. It was basically Splenda, right? And I'm a young personal trainer. And I'm saying, hey, I was talking to my clients about using it because I was only looking at one thing, body transformation. But we do know, and we've seen this, that the way that you make Splenda is to actually change sucrose, so to actually change sugar, and change it by removing one molecule and adding chlorine to it. We know that chlorine does harm the gut bacteria, does change the gut microbiome, and does create inflammation in the body, and may, over time, actually lead to obesity and diabetes. Now, there are no long-term studies on this. Good animal data, as you just stated, and potentially in practice as well, we don't see it. But here's the thing, and aspartame, the same thing. Aspartame is actually much worse. So aspartame, a lot of the issues we see are in children too. We're talking about learning disabilities. We're talking about neurological issues. You take kids off a lot of these artificial sweeteners and drinks that they're getting, and all of a sudden, a lot of these tics and neurological issues just go away. Same with migraines. I've seen so many people in my practice stop drinking Diet Coke, diet sodas, and all these artificial sweeteners, and all of a sudden, the anxiety, the headaches, the migraines, all of those things start to drop down. And again, neurological issues as well. So what I would say is, yes, some in clinical practice, but again, I feel it's a moot point because what are we really talking about? There are plenty of safe alternatives and even 0 calorie if you're looking for 0 calorie. So use a stevia, right? Use a Lohan. Use, what's another one? I'm just not thinking off the top of my head. Some of the other ones as well. But also, even a bigger deal, and Ryan, this isn't you. I'm just going off on a little bit of rant right now. You asked a very good question, so this isn't about you. I just love sometimes to go on a little bit of rant. People in our Western-based mindset are so afraid of sugar and glucose, they've literally lost their mind. You know, if you eat an apple, there's 19 grams of sugar. Apples have so many health benefits to them, yet people are so worried about the carbohydrates that they believe eating processed bacon is actually healthier than an apple. We've lost our mind because of one simple metric, which is sugar, because we believe that sugar is going to cause diabetes. Sugar alone is not going to cause diabetes. Hydrogenated oils, lack of exercise and movement. There's so many other processes that go into this. And I actually did a show on do carbohydrates cause diabetes? And the answer is definitively from the research, no. Now, if you're drinking down soda and all of those things, yeah, it's going to cause a big issue. There's no doubt about it. But I'm talking about eating carbohydrates, right? Whole food carbohydrates. You know, people see a nutritional bar or a nutritional shake or something with like 1 or 2 grams of sugar, and they literally lose their minds. They're like, oh, this product's so unhealthy. Meanwhile, they'll have no problem consuming ingredients they can't even pronounce and like Red 40 and all these different dyes. But hey, there's no sugar, so it must be okay for me, right? No, not even close. That inflammation is going to lead to inflammaging and obesity. Inflammation directly leads to obesity. Inflammation directly leads to aging and disease. So the other thing is this. People are acting like their body doesn't burn sugar during the day. 1 to 2 grams of sugar is not even going to make it to your bloodstream. it's going to be used up in the process of digestion. 1 to 2 grams of sugar doesn't even affect blood sugar. It does not affect blood sugar. They've done studies. It's basically 6 to 8 grams of sugar need to be taken in before you even get a real fluctuation in blood sugar. Ryan, thank you for the question. Hopefully that answered it. I love going on those types of rants. It feels really good to release that sometimes. I get very frustrated with the health-based industry because we're making really bad recommendations based on man-made substances that have no real upside and only potential downside. All right, Marianne's up next. Hey, Dr. Cabral, love your show. My husband was diagnosed with PVC, or pulmonary ventricular contractions. He's on medication now to regulate his heartbeat. He's trying to reduce his stress at work and reduce his alcohol consumption. He drinks about 2 cups of coffee per day. Is there anything else he can do to help regulate the heartbeat without medication? Okay, this is a medical-based issue. You know, on this show, I can't provide medical advice. Right? Can't provide cures to any disease, can't diagnose any disease, but I'm here to help with health-based education. And of course, what I would personally do in this situation. All right. PVCs, fairly common. They can come and go, sometimes infrequent. When are they going to happen more with? Stress. What is your husband doing that's more stressful? Well, his work is stressful. Alcohol consumption leads to dehydration and an imbalance of magnesium and potassium and potentially sodium, which does what? Changes the rhythm of the heart rate. Can change the rhythm of the heart rate. 2 cups of coffee. I know most people's 2 cups of coffee. It's more like 4 cups of coffee, right? A cup of coffee is 6 to 8 ounces. A small cup of coffee, if you go out and make one, not a mug at your house, is 12 ounces. That's a cup and a half. Most people, 16. That's 2 cups of coffee. So he's probably having 4 cups of coffee a day. What does that do? Increases norepinephrine, increases cortisol, increases heart rates. Okay, so you basically named the 3 things right away I would do. A lot of people are like, hey, tell me the nutritional supplement I need in order to fix all of this. I know that's not, I'm on, apparently I'm, I don't know, maybe I had too much coffee today. I don't think so, but maybe I'm a little amped up. But here's the thing, Marianne. You're doing everything right. Your husband, those are the 3 main things your husband should do. Less stress, less alcohol, less caffeine. Share with him my podcast on how to wean off of caffeine. He can still drink his coffees, but slowly wean down to half decaf, half regular, and then in the afternoon, a decaf, okay? Now, again, I can't provide any medical advice, but if I was this individual, I would most likely be running at least the starter kit to look at my mineral levels, because an individual like this may be greatly depleted of important minerals such as magnesium. All right, so let's look into that. Starter kit is StephenCabral.com/starter-kit. All labs I recommend that we use in our practice are at StephenCabral.com/labs. Again, you can find the labs we use. You can always work with any practitioner you choose to. All right, Anonymous is up next. Huge fan of the show. I listen every day. Thank you, Anonymous. One topic I've never heard discussed is the use of antiviral medications. I've heard a lot about antibiotics and the bad effects they can cause on the gut, but I've never heard of antivirals. The reason I ask is my 3-year-old has been on a low dose of a particular antiviral daily for the past year to prevent frequently recurring cold sores. We think they picked up this from an extended family member or daycare, since nobody else in our family has ever had a cold sore. Year ago, they were getting them every week. One would show up. We'd immediately start to cover it. All right, let's see what is going on. I asked the pediatrician about taking lysine, but they didn't feel comfortable with it because of his age. The low dose daily has worked really well for us, but I'm concerned it may cause other issues. Since early July, I've noticed about hives about every other day with my child, mostly on the torso. Doesn't seem too bothersome. I'm wondering if there's long-term issues with this. Okay, so totally understand what you're saying. I just want to look up how old you said your child was. Okay, 3 years old. Yeah, I mean, they are very young. There's no doubt about that. I mean, I agree. A lot of things that we do for adults, we don't necessarily do for 3-year-olds. But at the same time, there's certain side effects of every drug. I will tell you specifically that the side effects of a lot of antivirals that people are using now, I'm not saying for your child, they can cause specific issues with the liver. So that's what we look at for daily antivirals. We just have to be careful of essentially build up liver toxicity, sometimes digestive issues, gut issues. If you see your child with looser stool or the stool is a little lighter in color, more like whitish or very light brown, that can mean that there's issues with the bile, and that obviously goes back to the liver as well. Sometimes there can be more sleepiness, right? There can be kind of like that daytime fatigue as well. And there is some debate of, it's an antiviral, so it plays around with someone's cytokines, and over time, and especially at a young age, would that affect the immune system, the kind of that humoral and a more innate immune system? Would it dysregulate it? So it's something specifically to look at, and would it allow for worse things to happen in the future? I'm not saying that, but we're kind of going back and forth and externally processing this and trying to figure out what it is. And again, I always look at it. You ask me a question, what would I do for my own 3-year-old, right? We're looking at that. My own 3-year-old, I am looking, again, I'm not saying to stop the medication. I am not saying that. It may even be helpful for a certain period of time, and you've been doing that. I would love you to go back and just listen to my antiviral-based podcasts, right? It's how to destroy cold sores, herpes, shingles. It's like episode 7. I don't know why I don't memorize that one, because we talk about it so much on the weekend house calls. I'm sure you listen to it as well. How to destroy herpes, or how to destroy viruses. That's basically it. And it's at Stephen Cabral. So I just type it into old Google, how to destroy viruses, Stephen Cabral. Let's see what comes up. All right. It is, I get a lot of podcasts here. Okay. Because, I've talked a lot about this. Episode 760. I was going to guess that. I should have guessed it and seemed like I knew what I was talking about. How to destroy viruses. Okay. StephenCabral.com/760. Again, this is not a medical treatment protocol. This is not saying to come off the medication, but we could also do child-based dosages of zinc, vitamin C, vitamin D, lysine, maybe a little colloidal silver. I mean, the goal is to help destroy or knock down this particular virus. All right. Thanks for writing in. Tony's up next. Hi, Dr. C. I can't find anything on your podcast about the amino acid BPC-157. We just talked about this, I think. I asked your support team, and they said to ask here. Carpenter since a young boy, now in my 60s. A lot of pressure on my knees, floor tiling, etc. At one point in my 50s, it was so bad I couldn't get off the floor. Luckily enough, I found a fantastic acupuncturist, so made it a lot better. Fortunately, can't find him anymore. Job slowed down, but knee pain got worse. All right, so struggling on the knees. Prefer to avoid the hospitals and GPs. Your daughter had you on turmeric or curcumin, MSM, proteolytic enzymes, arnica. Then she found out about BP-157. After a few days of this, I could walk. The only thing that bothers me is that it's synthetic. So we gave it a couple of weeks. Then stopped. Knee has been overall good since, apart from the odd day here and there. My mood has improved. Normal fluid, 5'9". Don't do any strenuous exercise other than my job. Okay. Previously felt this. All right. Great. Well, let's help you out here. So first things first, I always say this. Listen, you've been a carpenter. You've been doing great work, hard work, manual labor. For decades, right? So up and down, up and down. If your body's not in proper alignment, you could definitely worn away. So if you're watching this on video, pretend this is my femur, my upper leg. Pretend this is my tibia, fibula, lower leg. And we got these bones at the top, right? Well, these bones are separated with your meniscus. And then on top of the end of the bone of each one, we have something called anticular cartilage. And this is, it's like this shiny, hard, cartilage substance that provides a way for everything to touch but not wear away on bone on bone. Well, after years, you may have worn a lot of that away. So there are great products that you can use. I've spoke about them before. We'll eventually come out with a product. We haven't yet, but it's I talk about them on a podcast, and it's glucosamine, it's chondroitin sulfate, and it's MSM. And not MSM, but the others are at least 1,500 milligrams a day. So you need to use a real dosage. That's helped a lot of people, because what it does is it doesn't necessarily make more cartilage, but what it does is it fills the cartilage that's there with a little bit more plumpness. And the other thing it does is that glucosamine has now been shown to act as a pretty powerful antioxidant. So when we're talking about BP-157, I believe we've already answered this before, but it might have been within the last 6 weeks when you wrote in. So BP-157, it's derived, so it's synthetic, yes, but it's derived from a protein in the stomach, right? So it's used for a lot of inflammatory-based issues. The joints are just one of them. I mean, people have used it for, yes, arthritis, but they've used it for hemorrhoids and any type of essentially tissue breakdown in the body. So if you were going to use it, I would use it in a way that you used it for a specific period of time, and then I would wean it off of it or just stop it, and then I would go to much more natural-based substances. Acupuncture is great. I would also work with like a functional range conditioning specialist, movement specialist, to make sure that your upper and lower leg are in good alignment as well. I don't have an issue with it short-term wide. It is a peptide, right? So it's a specific peptide that we're using. I just think that more research needs to be done before we start to use these things on a very wide scale. They affect the neurotransmitters as well. So, it can move up and down people's dopamine levels and serotonin levels. So I think people have to be at least slightly cautious if they're on an antidepressant or SSRI. So we just need more research, but I am glad to hear that it worked for you. And I know it's worked for other people as well. So thank you for writing in. All right, we're going to do one more question because we're really up on our time. I know I usually do 6, but I went on some crazy rants. So we're going to do one more question for today. And it is from Elizabeth. Elizabeth writes in, "Hi, Dr. Ball. My dad has a dark spot, almost black in the size of a small mole on the right corner edge of his lower lip for the past year or so, which has not changed. He has no desire to go to a general practitioner, had bad experiences with them. He's fine otherwise, in his 60s, generally in good health apart from some stressful phases, eats a balanced diet, does love wine, but never smokes or takes meds. I'm thinking maybe it's an angiokeratoma, vitamin deficiency, or possibly hormone related. I've looked at the natural topical remedies that may help, but wonder what may be best and whether topical iodine could be a solution. P.S. Are you familiar with indium EAs? Thank you for all that you do and this community." Okay. Well, let's work backwards. Indium is let me jog my memory from indium. Indium is a mineral element, and it is not something that our body requires. It is being studied right now. Not a lot of great research that I've seen. All sorts of claims on anti-aging, helping the immune system, helping with energy. Not a product that I would use. There are about 60 products before it that I would use, right? There's a whole lot more before we start to get to indium or indiumase. So that's that. Okay, what could it be? I don't even want to venture a guess, right? Because then I am somehow helping to diagnose this without even seeing it, without knowing your dad, without understanding what it is. All right, here's what we would do in my family, what I would give a recommendation for my father. Here's what I would do exactly. I would have them, if they don't want to go to a general practitioner, go to a dermatologist. You want to take a look at it. Could it be skin cancer? You don't want to play around with that. If this is early stage skin cancer, get it removed or begin to work on it if you want naturally. But you want to do something, right? You mentioned a topical iodine. Well, a topical iodine solution could be helpful. Proteolytic enzymes could be helpful. Other things like little apple cider vinegar application could be helpful. For me, again, this could be life-saving. I'm taking my dad, or my dad can take himself, to the dermatologist to say, hey, does this look like skin cancer? And they might say, you know what? It is definitely a something or other, right? They'll put a name on it. And then they'll say, well, we're going to watch it. It's not that big. It's not misshapen. It's not too dark in color, etc. So they're going to keep an eye on it. But if they see it begin to change, and they'll give you a little tape measure, or they'll take a photo themselves of just millimeter size on it. If it starts to change at all, well, then they'll do a biopsy, and they'll see if it is potentially skin cancer. And if it is, well, then the goal is to remove that growth before it spreads anywhere else in the body. But of course, at the same time, we're not going to rely on that alone. We're going to be doing things like the daily foundational protocol. We're going to be doing the immunity protocol and trying to strengthen that body. So that's what I would do. That's what I do for my own family. So we're all family here. We honestly are. I'm sharing you the same exact things I would do on a global health community scale. So thank you so much, everyone, for writing in. I'll be back tomorrow answering more of our house calls. Take care, everyone. Have an amazing weekend. Thank you so much for tuning into today's show. It means the world to me. You know that. I appreciate your support. And as a member of our community, I wanted to let you know that, believe it or not, the holidays are already here. One of my favorite times of the year. I love to be able to celebrate it with our community, with friends, with family. I hope you do as well. One of the things that we do, though, over at EcoLife, once a year, we offer our annual holiday sale. This is savings of up to 25% off our already everyday low prices. That means you can save hundreds of dollars on your favorite at-home lab test, your favorite protocol, whether it be a heavy metal detox, functional medicine detox, CBO protocol, you name it, it is going to be up to 25% off. Plus, you can pick up and stock up on your favorite nutritional supplements. Going on right now over at EcoLife, the link to head on over there is stevencabral.com/shop. And when you are over there checking out all of the deals, make sure you sign up for the SMS text. Here's why. We're going to be doing special pop-up offers for the next week on SMS text. That means you're going to get exclusive deals when you're signed up as part of our SMS text community. Head on over to stevencabral.com/shop. Check out all the deals, savings of up to 25% off, and also head on over and grab that spot on the SMS text list to save on all those special pop-up offers. Take care. Enjoy the start to the holiday season.